Ladies and gentlemen, Hebrews and Shebrews, welcome to the Life Podcast, where we inspire you to thrive as peculiar people in a modern world. This is episode 100 of this podcast, and joining us is TJ Morris of Bear Independent, who started this whole thing out at episode 1. We started off talking all about World War III and the end of the world and prepping for it. Now, I am going to include it in the version that's on the Life Network, which is accessible at watchthelife.com. But for everyone else, we're going to just jump right into business advice, which is what the majority of this episode is about. TJ wants people's businesses to be hitting on all cylinders so that they can prepare for any possible bad things that might be on the horizon. Now, if you really want his download of what's going on right now, go to his channel, bearindependent.com. Check out any of his videos there. Recently, especially, he's been talking about this. Katie didn't like hearing that stuff. A lot of women aren't going to want to hear it. It's man talk. You know, that's the caution. But episode is amazing. I hope you love it as much as I did. We don't celebrate Christmas around here. And so if we're not celebrating pagan Christmas and pagan New Year, then what are we doing? We're thinking about taxes. Taxes are coming up. As soon as pagan New Year ends, you're able to pay them. And before pagan Easter comes, you are able to file them, generally. So if you are more repulsed by taxes than by pagan New Year, pagan Christmas, and pagan Easter, then go to Goshen Tax and Consulting LLC.com and put in code THELIFE to get 10% off your order with them. Kyle Smith, who runs it, is going to take care of you. If you already are using him for your taxes, but you have a website that you want to be redesigned, you want new marketing material or social media content, then you can also get that from Goshen Tax and Consulting LLC.com, because the consulting part of it is a marketing and website branding firm. They have totally rebranded the websites of shepherdscrookcoffee.com, who is one of our other sponsors, coincidentally. Shepherdscrookcoffee.com had a pretty good site, but once Goshen Tax and Consulting LLC redid the site, it became way better. Likely, it's going to help Shepherd's Crook Coffee continue to take the world by storm. So, if you have a business and you need some help, or if you have taxes you have to pay and you don't want to pay more than you need to, then for both of those reasons, go to GoshenTaxAndConsulting.com, put in code THELIFE, and get 10% off. Work with these guys. They're Torah observant. They know what they're doing. Without further ado, I give you TJ Morris. TJ, welcome to the Life Podcast.
Thank you for having me back, brother. It's an honor.
You started this whole thing out on episode 1, and now here you are on episode 100. Thank you for being here, man.
I said it on episode 1, and I will say it again. I'm so thankful for you, and I still think that you don't understand the impact that you have had on the world with the work that you do. And for that, I am genuinely thankful, and I am genuinely thankful that I get to call you brother and friend, and that we get to do life together when our schedules align. So thank you for having me. It's truly an honor.
Oh, you're very kind. Okay. So, all right. Recently, on your Bear Independent channel, you've been kind of putting out really insightful, I think, information about the state of affairs of the world right now. And you had recently this video, out of a lot of them that stood out to me, the Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is the title of it. And it was kind of your take on the state of affairs right now. And I thought, man, we got to talk about this. People need to hear your thoughts. And then Katie is like, no, people are going to be scared. And so she's like, talk to them about business.
Okay, so first of all, we are commanded to fear nothing but Yahweh, our Elohim, the Lord our God, period, the end, right? And so, and we should understand that in the Hebrew connotation, fear means to deeply respect. And so if we're fearing anything else but the Creator, we're deeply respecting our anxiety, our shortcomings, our lack is a whole thing, right? I'm not good enough, it's not good enough, blah, 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 right? So nothing that I talk about should cause people to fear anything but Elohim. That being said, I see a lot of indicators on the horizon, and that's part of my job, is I see a lot of indicators on the horizon that it doesn't matter which data set I look at, they're all bad, and they're all trending in the wrong direction. Coupled with, what do we do about it? Okay, it's all bad. Now what, Bear Man? All right, well, first of all, we should have a faith that moves, right? Matthew 22:36. Love the Lord your God, Yahweh your Elohim, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, with everything that you've got. And love your neighbor as yourself. Okay. And James tells us, hey man, you have to have a faith that moves. Don't tell me about what you believe. Show me what you believe. And so we've spent the last 8 years at Bear Independent building businesses and building ministries that move so that we can insulate ourselves from this world when it all goes to hell in a handbasket. So what you want to talk about and what Katie wants to talk about, they dovetail into one another. One is the solution for the problem, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. I wonder, would it be good to start talking about maybe how you first started some of your businesses, maybe? How did you start your multitude of businesses and ministries?
So the first thing there is I would recommend to everybody, don't be me, okay? Don't. You'll spread yourself too thin. You hear all the time that the average millionaire has 7 different sources of income. Yes, they didn't start with 7. They started with 1 and then got to where they wanted to be financially and then started adding other revenue streams. But don't start with 7 things. Start with 1. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, okay? So start with 1, and then you can add from there, vertically integrate, if you will. So when I left North Texas and I moved to Eastern Oklahoma, I had a relatively small YouTube channel, only about 2,000 people. Frankly, there's days that's way better than 250,000, honestly, and a lot less pressure. But I had this small YouTube channel, and lots of people on YouTube were like, Bear, if you made a Patreon, we would support you. I'm like, what am I going to talk about on Patreon? And so, but it kept coming in. I mean, hundreds of people saying, we would support you on Patreon. Okay, I'm just a dude in North Texas at this time talking about preparedness. So I made a Patreon page, and then people did. And I'll skip over a bunch of parts here, some of which we talked about in episode 1, as far as backstories to who I am and where I came from. So if people are interested, they can go watch that. So I end up in Oklahoma. I've got a couple of bucks coming in from Patreon, and it's supporting our homestead neo-pioneering lifestyle, which is awesome. I did a video. I don't even remember what it was, but Pastor Joe Fox at Viking Preparedness shared that video. And in a weekend, I went from 2,000 subscribers to 8,000 subscribers, which was amazing. And then the creator of the universe said, hey, kid, read my Bible. And I said, I am. And he said, on camera, you big dummy. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. And he said, cool. Did I stutter? Read my Bible. Okay. So then I started Genesis chapter 1 in the beginning, right? And as a result, more and more people were attracted to the channel. And then as a result of that, the Patreon channel grew. And so one day I'm sitting around and I'm into preparedness, always have been. I mean, I have been, I guess, officially preparing since Hurricane Katrina. And I grew up on a farm. So that's preparedness in a nutshell. And I was like, you know what, man? Most first aid, I can't find a first aid kit that doesn't suck. Like none of these have what I want as far as components and or form factor. And so I might have had a glass of whiskey, and I was hanging out in the barn. And that night, my family, we had decided to get some takeout pizza. And so I'm hanging out in the barn, and I've got all of my first aid kits just kind of laid out, other people's first aid kits, products that I had bought. And I'm looking at them going, what? I just wanted to do this. And so I took a knife and a pair of scissors and a roll of duct tape and the lid of a pizza box. And I taped up, using the cardboard from the pizza box, what I wanted. So the lesson here is, I did not make the jump from the income I had to the income I wanted without looking first, right? So I moved. Patreon is and has been the war chest for us to do good things for 8 years. And I'm super thankful to those people over there. But I didn't go all in on the first aid kits to forsake Patreon. In fact, after I made this thing out of this cardboard, I took it to a brother, Cody at Sojourn Gear, and I said, hey, can you make me one of these? And he said, yeah, sure. I was like, well, what's that going to cost? Because I have no idea. I said, here's $1,000. If it's more than that, let me know. Which at the time, and even today, $1,000 is not a small amount of money to me. Okay. But I said, here's $1,000, figure it out. Well, it turns out at that time, for $1,000, that would get you quantity 6 of these first aid kits. And so he gave me quantity 6 of these first aid kits. And the Bearfac Gen 0 was born. And so to this, I have one left. It's in our little museum at Refuge Medical. And I sent some out to some friends, and I got some feedback from some friends, some professional end users, Air Force pararescuemen, Special Forces personnel, and they were both like, hey, this thing's amazing. If you make this one little tweak, we want 50 of them. We want 100 of them. I was like, wait a minute. I just wanted feedback. And they said, yeah, here's our feedback. You make this one little tweak, we'll buy 100 of them. Okay. So I called up Cody at Sojourn Gear, and I said, hey, can you make me another 100 of those? I need another 50. And then I went to Patreon and I said, I'm thinking about doing some swag. Take a poll. Do you want stickers, patches, hats, t-shirts, hoodies? And I just put first aid kit on there. Do you want a first aid kit? And in 24 hours, 334 people had voted yes for first aid kit. And so what that told me was I had a potential customer base of 334 people for first aid kits. So I took a little bet here, took a gamble, called Cody, and I said, make me 100, and I'll see if we can sell them on Patreon. And brother, that fast they were gone. Make me another 100, make me another 100. Okay. And so what I did was I did not jump from the thing I was doing to the thing I wanted to do without having the appropriate footing. Okay. And as a general business advice, I never bet the farm. Never. Cash reserves are the lifeblood of any business. You have to have it because it's very difficult to forecast if our current sales are a bubble or a trend. Okay, and so it takes at least 12 months to know if this is a trend, not a bubble. Just because sales have gone up this week doesn't mean that we're trending upward. We don't have enough data. And so if next week sales trend back down, and we don't have the revenue to be able to support ongoing operations, now we're out of business. And so as a rule, I will never deploy more than 50% of whatever my cash holdings are. So if I want to do a thing that's going to cost me $100,000, I better have $200,000 in order to do it. And I need to quantify what the return on that $100,000 investment is going to be, both in time and revenue, before I deploy that 100K. Okay. Now, Refuge was not the first company that I built. And so I started doing business when I was 17 years old out of necessity. And so I've gone to the school of hard knocks with business on this. And then we began iterating from there. And I was looking for white space in the market. One would think to themselves, the last thing we need is another first aid kit. Really? Another first aid kit? Well, that's what we call our market differentiators. What makes me different than everybody else? Well, we manufacture in America. We are whole Bible believers. I am a follower of Christ, so much so that some other followers of Christ think I'm weird. Okay. So be it. Mazel tov. Bless you. Whatever. And we make stuff here. We guarantee it forever. We only use premium components because I think I have a moral responsibility that if you are going to trade your hard-earned fiat currency for our product, it better work, especially if the ramifications of it not working are death. And so we don't price point bullcrap anything that we do. It's got to be the best because it has to work, because it's a life-saving first aid kit. It took me 3 years at Refuge, based upon consumer demand, to make a kit that had Band-Aids in it. I don't do Band-Aids. I do pre-hospital trauma medicine, right? And so I looked for where the white space was, and we developed this product, and then we've iterated over time. Like, this is not set up, but I have a Gen 3 bare minimum sitting right here. And this started as a pizza box in my barn 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Okay. And then out of Refuge, and really out of Patreon, and so Refuge is an e-commerce business, just so everybody's clear. And so then that's products. And then we later added services. Products and services are the two main differentiators, two main categories you can have: products and services. And then how you provide them. Is it in person? Is it e-commerce, online? Is it an informational product like Patreon is? So Patreon is e-commerce informational. Refuge is e-commerce product, and then in-person services, which is training and consulting. Out of Patreon, a gentleman sent me an email. His name's the Reverend Gilbert Abreu, about 6 years ago. And Hurricane Michael had hit the Florida Panhandle. And the email basically said, Bear, we need help. It's 5 months after the storm, and the storm still looks like it was yesterday. Will you help? Now, brother, I get 10 to 15,000 emails a week. I have 4 people on staff. It's their job to read emails, and then they will either answer those emails, put them in the trash, or on a very rare occasion, elevate those emails to me. We think you need to see this. And it's taken half a decade to get those parameters in place for what's trash, what you handle, what do I need to see, okay?
During this conversation, I had the pleasure, the distinct honor of drinking Shepherd's Crook coffee. I got to drink the Fireside Blend. It's very good. And I noticed something when I made it. Here at the studio, I don't have my normal Flair espresso maker. I have this little Mr. Coffee maker, and it's just 5 cups. These little 2-ounce bags that Shepherd's Crook makes, they have sample bags that you can get. You can sample all sorts of different ones of their coffee. And you can also get these bags to advertise your business or your ministry, to give them out at events. Like this says the Life Network, TLN. That's our little business. And we can tell people about it and give them gorgeous coffee inside. Anyway, this 2-ounce bag, if you grind it up and you fill this up to 5 cups, it is the perfect amount of coffee to make a great pot. So I didn't realize that, and I wanted to share that with you guys. I also want to tell you about Shepherd's Crook. So this is the family that roasts the beans. They are Torah observant. They only roast organic beans. They are, fair trade. They're organically grown. They're low acid. Actually, they may not be fair trade, but who cares? It's a great coffee. It's roasted to perfection. I'm sure people are getting paid who are growing these beans. Otherwise, they wouldn't sell it. That is what economics is. That's what capitalism is. People act as if there need to add a new wrench called fair trade. It's just a way to make money. Fair trade is silly. What isn't silly is getting organic beans. And because it's specially crafted, specially selected beans, they're not going to have any mold problems like you hear about. That's like the whole fad, just like the fair trade thing. It's the new fad. But you don't have to worry about any of that with Shepherd's Crook coffee. Go to shepherdscrookcoffee.com, put in code THELIFE, and get 25% off your first order. It's definitely worth it. If you've already done that and you just want more coffee, go and put in code THELIFE10 to get 10% off any subsequent order for perpetuity. Later on, maybe we could talk about those parameters and how you set that in place.
For sure. So not my job to read emails. I was supposed to be on a call with a client, and the client had to bounce. And so I had some free time, and I just happened to open my phone, and I opened the email app, and the top email, this is all the hand of the Father, is the Reverend Gilbert Abreu. Hey, we need help. Well, I'm supposed to be on the phone right now anyway. Let me just call this guy. So I call him. We spend 5 minutes on the phone. A minute and a half is him praying for me. A minute and a half is me praying for him. And the other 2 minutes is logistics. Where are you? What do you need? I'm coming. So I told our patrons on Patreon, hey, I'm going to Florida. If you want to come help, be the hands and feet of the Most High. Love your neighbor as yourself. I will be in this place at this time. Bring this stuff. Let's go. And so we did. And it was awesome. And it was literally miraculous. Had $3,000 that we raised for that. Drove 3,000 miles. Brought 3,000 pounds of food. Fed 3,000 meals with 33 people over the course of 3 days. Get home. Still had $3,000 in the bank account. To this day, I can't explain that because I spent every dime of that. Yet, loaves and fishes, right? Excuse me. So, I get home, and that weekend at Shabbat service, Pastor Joe was like, hey, that thing you did in Florida, that sounded awesome. Can you tell us about it? Just a couple of minutes. I'm me. So a couple of minutes took 15 or 20 minutes. And afterwards, some brothers come up to me and they said, hey, that thing sounds amazing. Let us know when you're going back. We want to go with you. Well, to that point, I hadn't planned on going back. And then the Spirit in that moment was like, you're going back. Okay. So 6 weeks later, we went back again. And I got back from that. And I have a weekly executive meeting where all of my direct reports from all these different companies and organizations, we get face-to-face, sit around a table, and we go around the table, and how can we help each other? There's a tidbit in there for business as well, right? What do you need? How can I help? What do we have going on? What are your current stumbling blocks or pinch points? Let's problem solve all this together as a body, as an ecclesia. And so we... written on a whiteboard in that room, big whiteboard in big letters, is no new projects, because I have entrepreneurial ADHD. And so I said, hey guys, I need a 501c3. And Monica, my personal admin, she just points at the whiteboard and just starts yelling, no new projects. You said no new projects. I said, I know, but this one's important. We got to do this. This is not some good idea thing. This is for the preservation of life. And Grindstone was born. And Grindstone started with a war chest out of Patreon. And then there's a one-way valve in between Refuge Medical, which is for-profit, public business, money flowing into Grindstone. And then Grindstone is a nonprofit that's all privately supported. We don't take federal funds because we don't want to play federal games. So money flows out of Refuge Medical into Grindstone with a one-way valve there. Money does not flow back out of Grindstone into Refuge. A lot of people wash their profits from their for-profit through a non-profit. It's a very common scumbag thing to do. I don't see the money that we have as my money. It's Yah's money, and money is for deploying against opportunities to be the hands and feet of the Most High in service to the kingdom. Grindstone, fast forward, we're bored because it's not storm season. We need something to do. So we go help a counter-trafficking facility. And while we're there, the father tells me, hey, you're going to build more of these. And I was like, excuse me, what? I don't know anything about counter-trafficking. And he said, cool. You build the buildings, I'll handle the rest. Oh, okay. So next exec meeting, hey guys, I know we said no new projects, but I'm going to need another 501c3. And then out of that, Kaleb House was born, counter-trafficking ministry. And then Kaleb House has very specific security needs. So out of that was born a security company. I also have a consulting company where I talk to people that have way too much money about how they can prepare and actions that they can take. And so all of this is what we would call vertical integration. It's all under the banner of Bear Independent, and they all mutually support one another. And that's done intentionally. So while I have my fingers in all these different things, they're all just different facets of the personality and the giftings and talents and delights the Father has given me. And they all have the same mission, which is preservation of life. Bear Independent is to teach people on the action steps that they should take to be able to insulate themselves from the broken, fragile system. And we read the Word together. That's eternal preservation of life. Refuge Medical's physical preservation of life. Don't bleed out. Don't run out of air. We get them to the hospital so they can see a doctor. And we teach that stuff. And, Grindstone is preservation of life after somebody loses everything in a hurricane, tornado, fire, or flood. Kaleb House is preservation of life after somebody's been brutally exploited. They're all the same thing. They just manifest themselves in different ways. So don't do everybody goes, oh my gosh, Bear's got 5 companies and 2 ministries. I need 7 things too. No, you do not. And I will tell you, it's probably twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. I have a 24 to 48 hour period of existential crisis where I'm like, Father, this is too much. This is too much. But then it's like, well, what do you give away? What do you stop doing? Well, it's all important. So the answer is none of it. And that's why it's so important to build teams inside of organizations where I have an excellent executive director at Grindstone. I have an excellent executive director at Kaleb House. My wife runs the day-to-day at Refuge. She's amazing, right? I have excellent people at Bear Independent. I have excellent people in the security company. I have everywhere I look, there's excellence. And there are people who, and this is important, they are paid and they are paid well because a workman is worth their hire. But their ideological alignment is critical. We agree on all of the big things, and we are all bought into the mission set, preservation of life. And so I get a lot of borrowed credit where people see me and they go, Bear, how do you do it all? I don't, homie. I do like 2% of it. And the other 98% is done by people that you don't see, and in some cases you will never see. And my job is to lead these teams inside of all these different organizations to cast the vision, to make sure that we're on track financially, legally, morally, ethically, and that our yes is yes, that we're doing the things that we said that we were going to do. And then when it comes to execution at the operational or tactical levels, other people are doing that, and frankly doing a better job at it than if I was trying to do 7 full-time jobs at the same time. And what that has done for me, if you think about this, from a preparedness standpoint, to bring it back around to how do we insulate ourselves from everything everywhere all at once, I have an incredible network of people. We have all the things one must have. We have land and animals and water and structures and communications and intelligence and medical and mobility and heavy equipment, all these things, building expertise. More importantly, people that represent all of that. And I have a bunch of people that are already all rowing in the same direction every day anyway. They're already doing life together in servitude to the Father's kingdom under the Word and the Word made flesh all day, every day already. And so when the world ends for us, it just looks like, I don't know, Tuesday. It's like, okay, cool. All right. We shift from external operations to internal operations. No biggie. So, and the other thing that it has done for me, Luke, and it can do for everybody else, is See, when you become your own boss, a lot of people think, I'm going to trade working 40, 50, 60 hours for the man to working 40, 50, 60 hours for me. That is incorrect. You will trade working 40 hours for somebody else to working 144 hours a week for yourself. Okay? I'm deducting 24 hours sundown Friday through sundown Saturday here, or whenever you observe Shabbat if you're a lunar Sabbatarian, whom I have no beef with. But you're going to work a lot for yourself. But it's so much more rewarding. It's so much more personal. I get to decide when I'm going to spend time with my family. I get to decide how we're going to deploy our assets. I know that for 8 days in the spring and 8 days in the fall, we're not working. I know when Shavuot rolls around, it's not like, I hope I can get off of work. No, none of us are working. I know that we will never have to work on Saturday. It's a non-factor. It's like, I hope I can get off of work. In fact, I've told people, if we ever work on Shabbat, y'all better mob up and whip my butt out in the parking lot, okay? It's non-negotiable. We shut our website down on Refuge. You can't buy from us from sundown Friday through sundown Saturday. But it's more responsibility for sure, but it creates so much more freedom as well. I kind of I ran my mouth there for a minute. I don't know if that answered any of your questions or not.
I think it absolutely did. All right, here's another question for you about it. Mm-hmm. How did you first realize this is too much for me to do and start IDing people to take places that you need?
That's a great question. All right, so one of my favorite people whom I have never met was an Italian mathematician by the name of Pareto. 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, okay? So 20% of your actions are producing 80% of your results. This is what Pareto found, whatever it is, whether it's an individual or an individual inside of an organization or organizations as a whole. 80-20 rule. 20% of your efforts produce 80% of your results, which means you're burning the other 80% of time, which is our greatest resource, because it doesn't matter how much money you have. You cannot buy more time, okay? So we're burning 80% of our time for 20% of our results. So what I do is I analyze. Literally, I will get a sheet of paper and a pen, and I will sit down, and I'll write down everything that I'm doing inside the organization, which is, again, start with 1, because it gets complicated when you got 7. But I will analyze everything that I'm doing inside of the organization and look at, is this producing results, and is this the best use of my time? And so we also tend to think, well, somebody's got to do it. Do they? Does it have to get done, or is this something we just inherited? One of my favorite, I just saw this and I love it, is tradition is peer pressure from dead people. And I love that. So it's like, why? It begs, sometimes you got to ask, why are we even doing this? Okay. So I identify the things that I must do. I'll give you an example. Bear Independent. I don't have to record the content. I don't have to edit the content. I don't have to post the content. I don't have to schedule it. I don't have to process payment from Patreon or YouTube. I don't have to answer emails. None of that has to be me. I need to talk at camera. That's the deliverable on Bear Independent. If anybody else talks at camera, it's no longer Bear Independent. It's something else, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's now something else. And so all these different things that require time. For example, I hate editing. It is not my gifting. Okay. You can ask Lauren, one of our media people. She's our director of media and marketing at Refuge. I hate having to do takes. I'm a one and done guy. And so all my people know, get it the first time or boss is going to be upset. Okay. So because there's only so many hours in the day. And so in order for me to be effective inside of my organizations, my job is very literally to talk, whether that is at a camera or at people inside of my teams, or to figure out what our long-term strategies look like, to communicate with customers, to communicate with consulting clients. My job is to talk. That's my job. And anybody else can do all these other things. I literally, and it sounds, please don't think that I'm being pretentious here, because when I first started, I was wearing all of these hats. And the first thing that I gave away to Monica was scheduling. I can do scheduling. I just don't want to. That's a bad use of my time. She's great at it. She loves doing it. So, Monica, schedule my Zoom calls. Okay? Let me know when I have to be on the internet with Luke or whatever it is. When am I filming at Refuge? When is Dudley coming to wherever I am on Earth so that we can film Bear Independent content? Monica handles all of that. And now I have one point of contact, Monica, for all my different scheduling needs, which means anybody who wants a piece of my time has to filter through Monica. Love that. That buys so much of my time back, because it's not just the scheduling, it's the back and forth interacting. Well, let's compare calendars and blah, blah, blah. That's a bad use of my time. So I don't do it, because the deliverable is talk at camera. So when you first get started, you're going to wear all the different hats. When I started Refuge, I started it in my barn. And aside from sewing the kits, because Cody was handling that at Sojourn Gear, I would pack all the kits. I would receive inventory. I would pack each individual box. I would load up my vehicle and go to the post office on Thursdays, because that was my shipping day, ship all the packages, let everybody know their pack. I did all of that, right? And then shortly thereafter, my wife came on board, and we moved out of my barn into a 500 square foot building, and then into a 1,700 square foot building, and then into an 8,000 square foot building. And right now, 2026, we're going to be adding another probably 12,000 square foot under roof. And then Refuge Defense, I'm looking at about 30-ish thousand square feet for 2026 as well. So we'll be adding approximately 40,000 square feet in 2026. So, and here's what's cool. I can pack orders. I can ship. I can do customer service. I'm not the guy you want for customer service. I'm just not. I'm like, what's your problem? Oh, you suck at life? Okay. I don't want you to have one of our first aid kits anyway. All right. Click, buy. Right? I'm not the guy for that. But we have people for that. And so as you grow, you continue to Pareto principle what it is that you're doing, and look at, honestly, with my giftings and talents and delights, my education, my capabilities, where am I most effective? And as founder, as you grow a company, one of the key things is you have to continue to cast that vision for people, because you can't hit a target you can't see. Depending on which part of the Bible you're reading, you can find both my people suffer for a lack of knowledge and my people suffer for a lack of vision. Okay? And so I have to make sure I know where we came from, and I know where we're going. And I have to make sure that everybody else in the company, you need 3 points to triangulate. Okay? Where we were, where we are, and where we're going. We need those 3 points. And that's part of casting that vision, is to making sure everybody on the team knows, hey guys, we don't just come in here and punch the time card so that we can, do a little bit of sewing, stick a tourniquet in a bag, kick it out the door. All right, see you next week. No, what we do matters. If we don't show up to work, there's 164 people that would be dead right now. There'd be 10 babies that weren't born right now. There's thousands of people that would never have received the aid rendered that they received. What we do matters. We are saving people's lives literally, so that they have an opportunity to meet for the first time, or to meet again with the Creator made flesh, so that they don't have just physical preservation of life, but eternal preservation of life. And every day at 3:55 p.m., 5 minutes before the big brown truck shows up, we lay hands on and pray over the packages. Father, get these boxes where they need to go, right place, right time, for the right reasons, for the preservation of life, both physical and, more importantly, eternal life. And that's what you guys are a part of every day. And that's what we're doing right now. And we're doing it so well that we need to add another 12,000 square foot right next door. And when we do, this is what it's going to look like, because you're going to have your own office, and you're going to have your own office, and you're going to be a team lead, and you're going to have 6 people sewing underneath of you, and you're shipping and receiving. How about loading docks? That's where we're headed. And so that they understand that the contribution that they're making is bigger than I showed up to work on Tuesday morning. That their efforts are rippling out into space-time beyond here, positively impacting generations. And that's key for a founder, because as you grow and you continue to add people, you need that high amount of ideological alignment. But we got to know where we're going. And we only know where we're going because we know where we've came from. We came from a barn missing 2 walls and half a roof, okay? And this is where we're going, brothers and sisters. Not because we want to make a pile of money. I live in Oklahoma, man. I'd be in oil and gas if I wanted to make a bunch of money, okay? Because the mission statement is too important to not do it. I've had 2 private equity firms in the last 12 months try and buy me out for life-changing money, Luke. Life-changing. I could have given everybody inside of the company $1 million, tax-free, put up millions of dollars in savings, spent millions of dollars, and still had millions of dollars left over to deploy against the next thing. And I was in deep prayer. What do I do, Father? What do I do? And after 21 days of prayer, the creator of the universe said, you cannot sell what is not yours. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Just because I'm the guy who signed on the paperwork. Oh yeah, I own Refuge Medical. No, it's his company. He's using it for something, many things greater than simply we show up to work and we pack first aid kits. There's way more going on here. It's his company. It's not mine. And brother, I'm telling you, it is challenging to turn down a cash offer for $60 million. Okay. In 5 years, from a barn to 4 continents. And oh, by the way, hey, we like what you're doing, kid. You want $60 million? I've never said that number out loud before on camera, so you're welcome. But for everybody listening, it can be done. And make no mistake, it hadn't been a cakewalk. It's been a grind. But it's been a good grind. And I would rather do something that's meaningful and purposeful, again, using that Pareto principle that is my giftings and talents and delights, as compared to slaving away. The Father's people are not to be slaves. You know, the Israelites got compensated for their time in Egypt. And they also did a bunch of really hard work that didn't do anything other than get them through the week. And we are called to more than that. And so I think entrepreneurship is one of those things that people should absolutely be engaged in. Even if I think everybody needs an LLC just for the tax advantages. I've got a whole playlist on the Bear channel, the CEO Bear videos. And so if anybody's just getting started and needs like tactical information, got it. I understand conceptually. I understand at the strategic level, but I need tactical information. Just watch that series of videos on YouTube. They're free.
They're great. They're great too. Okay, another question for you. I guess this bridges the gap between prepping and business, I think. How do you talked about having community as part of a really important part of like preparing for bad times. How do you vet these people and find them? The ones that are in your close circle that you're like, okay, when everything goes down, I know that I have this guy for this guy for this guy for this. How do you vet them? And I guess it's kind of like vetting for business as well.
So depending on which area of the organization that we're talking about, the vetting looks different. The more sensitive it is, the more intense the vetting is. You cannot walk onto Kaleb House property uninvited unless you just want to get shot, right? That's how that works. And so that's a very intensive background check process where we are combing through people's histories up to what did you have for breakfast this morning to make sure that people are who they say they are. because bad people seek access and placement with vulnerable people. And so we've caught 4 people, bad people, that way, just through that vetting process of people who wanted to come be around us. Okay, so that's very stringent. And because we have all these organizations under the same umbrella, they don't legally or financially touch. And that's done very intentionally. Multiple different FEINs, Federal Employee Identification Numbers, tax ID numbers, resale numbers. It's all different paperwork with the different, state and federal government. So they're their own buckets, if you will. And that's all done very intentionally. So depending on who's in what bucket, they're all different buckets, but they all sit next to each other. And on occasion, people hop out of one bucket and into the other wherever there's need. So let's say somebody wants to come work with Refuge, right? The first thing here is if we think about Acts chapter 10, Simon Peter, he's up on his roof. He's hungry. He's hallucinating. His sheet comes down 3 times. And then all the Baptists say, and now you can eat bacon. And they're totally wrong. Right? No, it's about people. That's what the rest of Acts 10 and all of Acts 11 says. And Peter's like, and then these 3 dudes showed up. And I wouldn't have hung out with these 3 dudes because that's not how us, the Yehudim, that's not how we roll. But then the Father showed me, do not call unclean what he has set apart, right? And so me, the Jew, I'm up on the roof, the sheet comes down 3 times, and then these 3 Gentiles show up, okay? And then what do they say? Simon Peter, Yahuwah Elohim, the creator of the heavens and the earth, told us we must come talk to you. And so Dad told the 3 Gentiles, but Dad also told Simon Peter, okay? And so when somebody is sent from the Father, we're going to both know, okay? And the reason that's important is because, especially at this point in the game, I'm a public figure. I don't love that about me because of the nature of some of the work that I do, but I'm a public figure. So I hear all the time, remember I told you I get 15,000 emails a week? I hear all the time, Bear, God is telling me that I have to come work with you, be with you, live with you, come to church with you, whatever it might be. Well, he hadn't told me, okay? And so, and that sounds, I'm trying to be really nice. I know you had to bleep 153 times on episode 1. And so I'm trying to be really nice, Luke. Thanks, brother. I'm not your milquetoast pastor. He hadn't told me. Okay. And so in the mouths of 2 or 3, let a thing be established. And so, so did God tell you you're supposed to be here, or did you transpose the voice of God into your delusions and now you want to be here? Because we run into that. Most people are harmless, but a few of them are not. And so what does that look like practically? Well, if Refuge Medical needs somebody, okay, we're going to pray over that. Father, we need more people in the sew shop. We need more people in the media team. We need more salespeople. Thank you so much for this growth that you've given us. In order for us to appropriately steward this, I'm going to need more people. The harvest is great, but the workers are few, right? Can you please send more people? And then we pray that internally. And then the next day, get an email from somebody that's like, hey, I was in prayer yesterday and the Spirit told me to reach out to y'all. I don't know if I'm supposed to be with you guys or not, but I've attached my resume and I just feel like there's some opportunity here for overlap. And it's like, ding, yup, okay. So that's part of what the vetting process looks like there. And the other thing, I have made this mistake in the past, and it's cost me dearly, both monetarily and with relationships, is when you give some of that purview away, Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, continue to check on your people, okay? You have to, Ed Milet says this, and he's totally correct. You have to inspect what you expect. So if you expect certain actions or behaviors out of people, you then need to inspect their actions and behaviors, make sure that they are doing that. And I'm very laissez-faire when it comes to leadership. I say, hey, Luke, this is what I need you to get done. Here's your timeline. Here's your budget. Legal, moral, ethical. Go make it happen. We'll talk in a week. And then you won't hear from me for a week unless you need me, in which case you'll say, hey, Bear, it's Luke. I ran into a roadblock on this thing. What should we do? Oh, that's simple. Call Jim over at here and talk to him, and he'll handle it. Thanks, boss. Got it. So I'm very hands-off. And as a result, that has cost me monetarily and in relationships with people. Because some people, it's a will or skill issue, and in some cases, both. You want something to happen, but maybe they don't have the skill to make it happen. They realize whatever the purview is you've given them is actually more complex than they thought it was before they committed to it. Well, I've been doing it. So why don't I show you what it was I was doing in this purview before I gave it to you? So that's a combo thing, right? The other thing is will. Will they do it? Do they want to do it? And in many cases, they will commit to something and go, oh yeah, not a problem, boss, I'll take that. And they actually don't want to do it. And that's more dangerous because it's very difficult to train heart condition. That doesn't necessarily mean the person's bad. It just means that we're not using them in the most effective way. So you have to stay, not from an overbearing standpoint, but you have to stay on top of your people. And it's commo. And so when you're first getting started with people, you have them work alongside of you. And so breathe the same air. And so when somebody comes on board in any of our organizations, there's a trial period. Okay, so the first 30 days, you are a conditional employee here. And then after 30 days, we're going to have a conversation. Is this what you actually thought it was going to be? Do you want to be here still? Do I still want you here? Did you perform actually the way that I thought you were going to? And at this point, it's no harm, no foul. Either or both parties can walk away harmless from this relationship after 30 days if we both agree, hey, we don't want to continue here. Or if one of us agrees, hey, I don't want to continue here. It might say, Luke, we've got an opening in the media department at Refuge, man. You make so much media. You're going to be amazing over there. Everybody loves you. You're like, sounds great. Let's try it out. 30 days later, you're like, yeah, this sucks. I don't want to be here. Okay, cool. It would be bad business and bad personal for me to now have a vendetta against Luke after 30 days. No, Mazel Tov, go do your thing, man. Now we know, right? Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Go do your thing. And then spending 30 days with somebody where you're interacting with them daily, then we can move to weekly if we both want to be here. And then my key people I meet with weekly. And that's a span of control thing for me. I have a handful of direct reports, and I try to give these direct reports not a half an hour or an hour, like half a day, sometimes a whole day, where I'm just going to be with these people. And it's typically at minimum 2 or 3 hours a week I'm spending with them, because now it's not performative. It's like, yeah, email me those spreadsheets and we'll print them out and we'll go over it real quick and then you can get back to work. No, man. How are you? How are the kids? What's going on? Notice your tire looks flat and you need a tire, blah, blah, blah. Let's be brothers. Let's be sisters. Now, let's talk business. Let's talk ministry. How can I help you? What do you need me to take off of your plate? What should I be doing that I'm not doing? And what am I doing that I shouldn't be doing that's not helping you? Okay? Inform me of that so I can correct my own action. And so two cannot walk together unless they be agreed. And so that's context and dwell time. And so give people a little bit to start, right? And then watch them. This is key. Believe people when they tell you who they are with their actions, not their words. Watch the silent movie, okay? Messiah says, behold, I come swiftly to reward each man according to his works, and you will know them by their fruits. So I got to see what people do. What works do they have? What fruits do they produce? That's much more important than what words come out of their mouth, because words are easy to fake. Actions are based upon belief, back to the book of James. Whatever it is that you do throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the year, You do it because you believe it. It's simple as that. Beliefs manifest into actions. They come out of your hands and your feet. So I want to observe what people do and watch the silent movie. And even if they're good people, do I have good people in the wrong place? Right? Like, there's some people inside of organizations that have moved in positions and across organizations half a dozen times. And I still love them. And they're incredible. It's just, it took us that many times to figure out where was the appropriate piece to stick this puzzle piece, back to Pareto principle, to get the most out of this person and for them to derive the most fulfillment using their giftings and their talents and their delights, the way that the Father made them to actually produce fruit. So that vetting process it's really time. And so don't be quick to commit. And watch people, believe them when they tell you who they are with their actions, and don't give people too much too quickly. He who can be trusted with little can be trusted with much. So start with a piece, start with another piece, then another piece. As you're Paretoing and giving stuff away, you're 80-20, give away one piece of that and see how somebody does with that. And wait a week or two or maybe a month and then give away another piece. And then another piece. It's part of why I trust Monica so much. I've been doing business with Monica for 15 years. And not one time has she given me a reason to distrust her. And what I respect about her, in addition to all of that, is there's been times when I have been wrong. And Monica has said, no, we shouldn't do that. No, we're not doing that. That is not your ethos. That's not in line with your character. That's a bad idea. I don't support that. I'm like, thank you, because we have a decade and a half of context and dwell time. Same thing with my wife. That's my wife. Most trusted person on planet Earth. When she says, babe, I love you, but this is stupid. Okay, subordinate the ego and listen. So, but here's the other thing. It is very rare that people can both business and personal at the same time. And so we tend to want to hire or bring on board people that we know because we know them. And the fact of the matter is, it's rare that somebody truly possesses the skill set that we're hiring for, and that they can differentiate between business and personal. That's challenging. Because if you're doing business right, you're taking it seriously and you're taking it personally. And if you're doing personal right, you're taking it seriously and you're taking it personally. And so what that means is we have to get really good at communication and conflict resolution and having difficult conversations almost immediately. And I now assume, brother, it wasn't always this way, but I now assume that if there's a problem, I am at least 50% of it. It's at least half my fault, might be more than that. And so when I go have a conversation with somebody, whether it's personal, professional, faith-based, or whatever it is, my key assumption going into the conversation is I want to discover what I did to wrong this person. How did I make it worse? Not this person did this thing to me and therefore we should fire them. But what happens when we see him at Shabbat? It'll just be weird. Well, what if we didn't fire him because it turns out I'm the jerk? Okay. Oh, but you own the companies. How could you be the jerk? Oh, it's high likelihood I'm the problem. I know. I've seen me do it before. That's why I hired these people in the first place. They're better at this stuff than I am. Okay. So it's very likely that I'm the issue. And so cultivating that relationship with your people where they have the ability to be honest with you and go, boss, I love you. I love it here. This is amazing. But you do this thing. And every time you do this thing, I want to come unglued. And when you do that thing, it costs me half a day to fix it. And it's creating a huge amount of operational drag. And frankly, it's pissing me off. Thank you for telling me. I had no idea. And one quick example, and then I'll let you ask another question. I used to say all the time, I don't care. Somebody would ask me, hey, what color should the thing? I don't care. Do you want to do that on Tuesday or Wednesday? I don't care. Because I don't. And what I have learned is when people hear me say, I don't care, what they're hearing is, that's not important to me. And what I'm saying is, I have no preference. And so I have rewired myself to say, I have no preference. And that is now rewiring itself into, I am unqualified to offer input on this. Why don't you do what you think is best to do? And that's way different than I don't care. Because I don't care sounds like, especially if you're somebody who internalizes stuff, it sounds like this is unimportant and that therefore I'm no longer valuable. And oh my gosh, am I going to continue to have a job here? And how do I work with somebody who doesn't take what I do seriously and doesn't value me? And it's like, no, you asked me a color question. I'm colorblind. I don't care, right? But the answer is I have no preference. And really with color is I'm unqualified to make a decision on this because I don't see colors. What do you think we should do?
This podcast is also sponsored by the Life Network, or TLN, as I like to call it. You can check out what we're doing there at watchthelife.com. We're making a matchmaking show that hooks up Torah-observant singles so that they can have a family. We're touring Torah-observant homestead so that you homesteaders can learn the best practices from the best people that we can find. We're hosting a women's talk show where Katie discusses common Torah problems, joys, issues, trials, tribulations, all on camera, all for your benefit. And we have more stuff coming. So if you want to find out more about that, go to watchthelife.com and join us, baby. We're revolutionizing entertainment, and we're doing it in a biblically clean way. This is Netflix for Torah. Go to watchthelife.com. Wow. So, okay, communication style. It sounds like that's something that has changed. And Pareto's principle, that too. Maybe, is there anything else that you think you had to change to go from being a leader of tens to a leader of 50s and hundreds?
Yeah, and it's potentially the most challenging part of this whole entrepreneurship journey. It's developing subordinate leadership. Okay, we know when Moshe is sitting in judgment for all the Israelites, and then his father-in-law Jethro, great name, Jethro. I feel like he showed up with like a donkey and a banjo. Jethro shows up, and he's like, "What are you doing, bro? Like, you don't have." And this is called span of control. The United States military has figured out, on average, a person can run 3 to 5 people underneath of them. Okay, and so that's how hierarchies should be set up militarily, and we see biblically, right? It's typically in units of tens, right? Captains of tens, captains of 50s, captains of hundreds, captains of thousands. Okay, all that subordinate leadership, captain of, all right? It's just like pastor and associate pastor and youth pastor and worship pastor, on the church side of stuff, or whatever structure you're into in your Torah pursuant escapades out there. So you can't run that many people, and you shouldn't run that many people, because you will get decision fatigue and therefore start making bad decisions and end up screaming, "I don't care," and offend everybody. Okay? So it's building subordinate leadership. And what that means is reproducing yourself. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Right now with Refuge Medical, I am one of our lead instructors, and my time is one of the most challenging things that there is to work with and work around in all of our, we call it the enterprise. Okay. Everything underneath the umbrella, everything in the enterprise, my time is, I'm undependable to the point where I tell people that if your plan requires me to be successful, it's a bad plan. And when I say I'm undependable, if I have to teach a class on Sunday and, we also have to go run a mission, which one am I picking? Sorry, I won't be there for Sunday. So that means I have to reproduce myself inside of Refuge training so that I am not required to perform the scope of work. Now, here's the thing. There's plenty of things about me that are less than ideal that probably shouldn't get reproduced, which means it goes back to, I have to identify, it's what are called KPIs, key performance indicators, which are the metrics that we watch inside a business, like Refuge Medical e-commerce, that's inventory velocity. Because we work on volume, I need to turn over everything underneath the roof as quickly as possible. So if something sits on the shelf for more than a month that has a low inventory velocity, it's not selling fast enough, we need to find a different product or not carry that product, okay? That's a KPI. Refuge training, what are our deliverables? Well, they need to be a subject matter expert. They also need to be able to communicate, right? They also need to have some business savvy. Now, who it is that does this matters less. Oh, and high ideological alignment. Who it is that does this matters less than it gets done. All right. And so right now, that person is in large part me. We also have Mike DeGaietano on staff. Awesome guy, former doctor of Marines, paramedic for 28 years. He's another lead instructor with us. I'm better at talking than Mike is. He's more of a subject matter expert than I am. Okay. And so when I look at subordinate leadership, I need to look at what is it that I need to reproduce in this role that needs to be filled. And then I have to have my own internal training with these people, which comes back to context and dwell time. I do this way, not necessarily because it's the best way, but it's a way that accomplishes this goal inside of the organization. Transfer of knowledge with refuge training, automaticity, knowing how to do it with your hands, not just read it on a book or watch a PowerPoint, right? And so the onus is on me as the owner, as the founder, as the lead trainer, one of the lead trainers in this case, that when I'm going to reproduce somebody to step into this role, to buy my time back so I can step out of the tactical and back into the operational or strategic, the higher level of stuff. I have to know what it is that I want to reproduce in people, and I have to itemize that. And then I need to teach those people those things. And so part of refuge training is we have a bunch of assistant trainers that's done intentionally so that while we're training students, I'm also training assistant instructors and allowing them to take portions of the curriculum, portions of the course, and you present this, and you present this, and you take these guys over here and do that. And I'm teaching the assistant instructors. At the same time, I'm also teaching students so that at some point the assistant instructors can grow into lead instructors that allows me to step back out of that and get back into founder and CEO mode. So it's really reproducing subordinate leadership. That's you cannot grow beyond the capacity of your people. And it takes time to grow people. If you've ever had children, it takes time to grow people. And one of the most useful frameworks here for this is see them like children. Like CEO, founder is very much so like dad. It's just a different house. It's very much so like that. I am responsible for these people. Provision, protection, and blessing. Yes, that comes from the Most High, but it flows through me to these people. And I have a commitment that I've made to them. If I don't do my job, they don't eat. Well, that's unacceptable. So they are like children. They're my brothers and my sisters, but I'm accountable for them. I'm responsible for them. And so when you step back and see somebody like a kid and you go, okay, and you're struggling with math a little bit, come here. We're going to work on multiplication. That's a lot different than, I can't believe how stupid you are that you don't know how to do this. And screaming helps nothing, right? And you're burning leadership capital. You're destroying that context and rapport that you've worked so hard with that person to build so that they will believe you when you have a conversation with them for their best interest and the best interest of the company. And that's critical. The individual best interest and the best interest of the company have to be aligned so that we're all marching in the same direction. Back to vision. My vision for the company has to be so large, so audacious, that the individual visions of everybody inside of that company fits inside of what it is that Refuge is doing. And then as we build Refuge, I'm not only supporting the mission statement, I'm facilitating the dreams and ambitions of every individual inside of Refuge at the same time.
What do you think were some pivotal decisions you made to help each one of your businesses or organizations grow?
That's a great question. I told you that I never bet the farm and that cash reserves are key, lifeblood of a business. I never bet the farm, but that doesn't mean that I don't bet. Okay. So money is not simply to sit in a bank somewhere and look at the ones and zeros go up, go up, go up. There are dozens of products that Refuge has launched. And I'm using Refuge because it's the most common touch point here. And it's a physical product, which is the most relevant touch point for most people. Services as a close second. There's been dozens of products that we have launched with Refuge that were not great. And by not great, I don't mean that the product wasn't good. And this is key. I don't decide the viability of a product. The market does. Just because I think it's a good idea, if the market doesn't respond, it doesn't matter how good of an idea I think it is. If the people don't want to buy it, then it's not a good product. And so there's a graveyard. It's like Ezekiel 37, a valley of dry bones of what used to be products, right? Of just laying out there. But I have, for every 10 or for every 20 that weren't the one, there's one that is. The Refuge Medical could just be called barefact.com because more than 50% of our sales volume per year, every year, is the Barefact. Simple as that. Because that kit, which is now on Gen 3, it's been iterated on 4 or 5 times. That kit is stellar. It doesn't matter what your job is, what you're doing, where you are on earth, it will work. And we've got over 100 use cases on it working to save somebody's life. So I've never been afraid to deploy assets against an opportunity. I just don't deploy all of my assets. It costs product development, depending on what product we're developing, between $20,000 and $50,000 to develop a product at Refuge. Which is a lot of money. That's no small amount of money. Here's another thing. I listen to the customer. It's much better for me, Luke, if you tell me what you want and then I make what you want, then I try and reverse engineer what it is that you want. If I'm shoving my product down your throat, I have to sell you. If I'm making the product that you want, I look like a hero. Oh, Bear, thank you so much. You did it. You made the thing. Of course. Because if I make the thing you tell me to make, you're going to buy it. That's like a guaranteed sale. A perfect example of this is the information e-commerce. Patreon. Our model on Patreon for 8 years has been, I put up a sticky post. Actually, Monica puts up a sticky post on Patreon called Give Me Your Questions. And it's there. And it gets refreshed about every 30 to 60 days. And that aggregates all of the questions from all the patrons, one place, one post. All I have to do, or Dudley has to do, is pull up that post, take some screenshots of questions, and now we know what we're filming. And so Luke has a question about everything, everywhere, all at once, and how to use entrepreneurship in a Torah-pursuant lifestyle in order to be able to weather this storm that's coming. And so I'll take that question, and then we'll start recording, and I'll say, good morning, Patreon. Luke has a question here, and you're going, Bear said my name. That's great. He's making my video. This is awesome. And then I'll make that video talking to you, but talking for the benefit of everybody else as well. And then at the end of the video, I'll say, Luke, great question. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. If anybody else has any follow-up questions, put them down below and let me know. And you got this huge hit of serotonin and dopamine, while I also had the opportunity to teach you for the benefit of the entire class, everybody else on Patreon. And I look like a hero because I made the content that you asked for. But what I really did was tell you, I let you drive the direction of the channel and streamlined my workflow to where all I have to do is go to one place on Patreon, take a screenshot, and film, instead of trying to figure out what it is, what do people want. And so as far as success in business, whether it's products or services or information or whatever it is, the customer really is always right. What do they want? You're going to be way more effective, have much more of a kingdom impact, produce significantly more revenue by simply giving people what they want instead of trying to reverse engineer what it is you think that they want, or shoving some ShamWow OxyClean product down their throat that requires tons of marketing in order to just get somebody to buy. To this day, if you look at a percentage of revenue for marketing for Refuge Medical, it's under 1%. It's under 1% percentage of revenue for marketing. I don't have to sham wow. I don't have to shill. I don't like it. If I have to coerce you into buying my product, there's probably something wrong with the offer stack here. And that's another thing to Katie's question, how to be successful. Have a good, compelling offer stack. Excellent reference for this is a gentleman by the name of Alex Hormozi. Last name is Hormozi. And his wife's name is Layla Hormozi. And it is my prayer that one day they will both be believers, because I don't believe they are currently. That being said, they are both self-made billionaires as young people, bootstrapping companies that sell real products. And that's extremely rare. And they both make excellent content. And so our offer stack is what we present to the customer and how we present to the customer, and down to the finest detail of price point, the retail price point. And you get into things like what's called CAC, cost of acquisition. How much did I have to spend in order to get a customer? How much did that customer buy? Which gets into profit margins and revenue, which then gets into what's called LTV, which is lifetime value. The best customer you have is the customer you have. And an example of this with Refuge is, realistically, how many trauma first aid kits does someone need? One. They need one. Okay? And so you would think that the lifetime value of an average Refuge Medical customer would be equivalent to one first aid kit. That is incorrect. The lifetime value average across 53,000 plus customers currently is equivalent to approximately 5 first aid kits. And they're already my customer. So how do I continue to serve that customer? I don't have to go find new customers. Right? I have customers, and here's how. It's customer service, which is why I don't answer the phone. I let somebody else answer the phone, because they're way better at it than I am. Because they will be nice. They're not slammed for time. They did get more than 3 hours of sleep last night. Serve the customer. Help the customer. Ask them what they want. What do they need? How can we facilitate for you? And genuinely mean it. Not greasy, not as a sales pitch. Genuinely try and serve the customer. And then they tell everybody else, which is why percentage of revenue marketing for Refuge is less than 1%. Because now they're telling everybody else, you got to go get a Refuge kit, man. Those people are incredible. Not only is the product amazing, but I called the store, or I shot them an email, or I was using the chat function on the website, and they're the nicest people, and they just help. They're just helpful. We've had people call I love it. People call the store, and they're like, oh, it happens to be my birthday. Everything stops. The whole office is singing happy birthday to him on the phone, right? That's amazing. We've had people who've called the store, and on several occasions, people were in a really bad spot psychologically, and calling them employees is cheap, man, because they're my brothers and sisters inside of this company. They've spent hours on the phone with somebody, literally and figuratively talking them off the ledge. Say, don't do that thing, man. Do you know how much Dad loves you? You are precious, right? For hours, because we're people. It's people. We exist to serve people in the Father's kingdom. And so if you interact with your people, if you see customers as people, it's not transactional, it's relational. It's literally right here behind me. Build relationships. One of Refuge Medical's core values. Right there. Build relationships. Okay? So, as to Katie's question, right? Things that we've done to be successful. We don't commoditize life. It's not a commodity. It's precious to us. And the people that we are blessed to get to interact with, we get to do this. We don't have to do this. We get to do this. We treat them as people to the best of our ability. And they will tell other people about that and build your customer base, and they will come back We've had, man, people call the store all the time and ask for us to acquire things for them that we don't even sell. And I'm like, you can get that on Amazon, right? They're like, I'm not giving Jeff Bezos a dime. I want Refuge to get my business. I'm like, okay, well, hold on. Let me figure out how to get that thing, and then we'll sell it to you. And that's relationships, and it's key to business.
Okay, I have another one. Thank you so much, man. That was awesome. Another question based on your board there behind you about be disciplined and lead by example. I'd like to bridge it over into, I guess, a prepping question. Like I look at the generation that I'm a part of and then Gen Z and Gen Alpha and all these coming ones that seem to be born into what people have called silk slippers. Like they pale in comparison discipline-wise and character-wise to the greatest generation, these guys who fought World War II. How the heck did you build the discipline and lead by example? And how can some of these kids do it who maybe don't know how to? Maybe they've just never been put in that scenario, or they just haven't seen any good examples. Because I think we're going to need both of those things for business and otherwise.
I agree. So discipline is doing the right thing when you don't want to do it. It's just, let's break it down Barney style, make it bite size, okay? And then stick that in our prefrontal cortex, our filters that we use right here as we receive and transmit information. Discipline is doing the right thing, especially when we don't want to do it, okay? And not doing the wrong thing, even when we really want to do it, right? That's discipline. And he shall shepherd them with a rod of iron, because sometimes you need a whooping in order to keep you in line, right? The straight and narrow path, okay? So there's opportunities to be disciplined everywhere. They're everywhere. If you say, I'm going to do 100 push-ups today, and then you don't, that's not being disciplined. And what you're doing is, and if you can stand the language, Andy Frisella, he has a podcast called Real AF, REALAF. This guy's incredible. I've been to his house. I've been to his headquarters. Again, 27 years in business, bootstrapped as a poor kid from Missouri. That has one of the largest employers, in St. Louis, multi-billion-dollar international operation, 600,000 square foot under roof, bootstrapped, done with no debt. And incredible man. And but does he use language. You think bear's offensive? Yeah. But discipline, and so I want to give credit where credit is due. This is an Andy Frisella concept. When we are undisciplined, we are creating a track record with ourselves that we are undependable. We therefore become unbelievable. And so when we go to set goals, whatever those goals might look like, be they business, personal, relational, preparedness, whatever those goals might be, there's this voice in the back of our head that knows that we're full of crap because we can't even get out of bed on time. We can't even stick to a diet or do the push-ups or go for the walk or make your bed or keep the room clean. Dr. Jordan Peterson, first rules for life, 12 rules for life. First one, make your bed. Why? Okay. Yeah. Does it have some, esoteric value and it helps regulate your central nervous system, all that? Yes. But it's an action that you can take that allows you to happen to the world every day, not the world to happen to you. And I think that's really important to understand fundamentally. Again, when we go back to a prefrontal cortex filter here, I happen to the world. The world doesn't happen to me. And I am a son of the Most High Yahweh Elohim, creator of the heavens and the earth. And the spirit that lives in me is the spirit that raised Lazarus from the dead and parted the Red Sea. And if I can't make my own bed, who the hell am I? Right? If I can't you're going to let push-ups beat you? Oh, Cookies whipped your today? Are you kidding me? Right? And so there's myriad opportunities on the daily to exercise discipline. Biblically, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Did you say you were going to do it? Then do it. Did you say you were not going to do it? Then do it, because a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. And so if you can't make your bed, do the push-ups, eat the protein, whatever it is, it's going to be very hard to produce external results in your business, in your ministry, whatever it is, when you can't produce internal results, because your yes is not yes to you. And if your yes is not yes to you, you are an unreliable witness to everybody else in every other relationship that you have. Luke, how can I commit to you when I can't even commit to me? Okay. So and part of this goes back to, you will know them by their fruits. I come swiftly to reward each man according to his works. Your life is your resume. Your life is your testimony. If I don't look at your life and go, man, I'd like to have some of that, or Luke's really got it going on, or I like what you did there, that's wise. I appreciate that. It's low likelihood that we are going to do business together or do life together, because I can simply be a fruit inspector and go, oof, don't like that. Not a fan. Doesn't mean you're a bad person necessarily. Doesn't mean you're not one of y'all's people, but you're not one of my people. There are 13 different tribes. Okay. And each tribe has their vibe. Okay. So we're surrounded by opportunities to be disciplined every day. And he who can be trusted with little can be trusted with much. Make the bed, do the push-ups. If you're praying to the Most High every day, Father, I need $100 million company. You are not the person to steward $100 million company if you can't make your bed. Okay. If you say, yes, honey, I'll watch the kids tonight, and then you completely forget, how are you going to run up? No, you can't have 100 employees if you can't keep track of commitments that you've made to your other half. Okay. So we're surrounded by opportunities to be disciplined, and so engage in them. And then you build a track record with yourself as far as being a reliable witness. And that's really important, because now your internal dialogue starts to change. I can do that. And I know I can do that because I keep my word to myself and I keep my word to other people. And I have done all these other difficult things that have caused me to be disciplined. So now when I decide to pursue a certain course of action, I understand up front it's going to be challenging, and that's okay, because I'm good at challenging things. And then as far as the next one, you said be disciplined, and then what was the other one? Lead by example. Well, we talked about creating subordinate leadership, right? I have to set the tone. If I say, guys, it's really important that we are all here on time, and then I don't show up till 30 minutes later every day, I'm a hypocrite. I'm an unreliable witness, right? If I say, guys, it's really, whatever it might be, right? And pick a thing. With our salespeople, hey, we need to have minimum 10 contacts a day. Okay. And then I don't. Okay. And then I don't have 10 contacts a day. Why would they? Well, if I can get away with it, why can't they get away with it? And here's what they think is, I'm lying. If I say, hey guys, we got to be here by 7 o'clock every morning, and I don't show up till 7:30, I'm lying. And if I'm lying, why shouldn't they lie? Versus if I'm just staunch, let my yes be yes. Okay, day starts at 7. I'll be there no later than 06:45. You'll see me. Right? If I say, hey, it's really important holistically what we put into our body and how we move our body. I've got a $5,000 cable machine inside a Refuge next to a treadmill, so that I have no excuse when it comes to my time. Oh, I can't get to the gym. The gym's right there, dummy. Go get to the gym. And so I'm doing chest flies 4 feet from where people are packing boxes. So they see me go, yep, strength training is important. Cardio is important. Do I believe that it's important? Yes, because you can see me doing it. I'm right here. When I say, hey, we're going to go train these people. We're going to do a 72-hour wilderness exercise that's 1/5 of an associate's degree in wilderness medicine crammed into 3 days, while also living out of a rucksack and training small unit tactics. And I'm not there? What a hypocrite. No, I want to be there too. I like type 3 fun. I don't know if you know what type 3 fun is, but type 3 fun is the type of fun that's actually not fun at all. It's actually miserable. And the only thing that makes it fun is the fact that we are deranged. We are collectively deranged. And so I really enjoy doing hard things with people that I love. And so if I didn't show, hey guys, we're going to have a range day. It's really important that we're training. And I show up to the range day and I can't shoot. Well, what expectation do I have that everybody else should be able to shoot, or whatever it is? And so leading by example, especially building subordinate leadership, is letting your yes be yes externally, that people can then see that your words and your actions match up and you are therefore a reliable witness.
So Monica was basically the first hire that truly freed you to lead instead of just work?
Correct. Yep.
How do you fund growth without becoming enslaved to investors or debt? It sounds like you keep a large war chest.
Oh, great question. So I don't like debt, especially starting out. There's potential arguments for it later down the road. I wouldn't even worry about it until your per annum revenue exceeds $1 million a year. And to that point, a simple LLC will cover any business operations at a minimum up to $1 million per annum per year. So I don't like debt. The rich rule over the poor, and a borrower is slave to the lender. Because you missed 3 payments and now the bank owns your company. And again, a bubble versus a trend, if I don't have enough data, if I don't have 12 months worth of data to be able to substantiate, yes, this is actually a trend, I'm just on a bubble. You never borrow against a bubble. And then as far as investors, the challenge with investors is then you get ruled by committee, and then you water down what that vision is. Even if they're they don't have a controlling stake in the company, they're junior partners in the company. You have other people's opinion on how it is the company should be run, and we are now operating the company with revenue as the primary goal because we have to give a return on investment. Now, business should produce a surplus. A surplus means we have more left over than what we started with. Okay, we call it profit. The goal of a business is to produce a surplus, but it cannot be the primary motivator in a business. Profit cannot be the primary motivator. Money is not evil. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. Okay. So I think it was Zig Ziglar, who's like a motivational guy 30, 40 years ago, had a quote that my dad had hanging up in his office that said, if you help enough people get what they want, eventually you will get what you want. And if we think about a business's primary function is to serve the customer, serve people. As a result of that, a workman is worth their hire. That's Torah. Dad will make sure that you get what you need. Not necessarily what you want, but you get what you need. So what we really want to solve for is, how do I serve as many people as possible? That's what we solve for. And then if I have basic business principles that I sell a product for more than what it costs me to produce it, how much more? Well, don't be egregious, but that produces a surplus, and then I sell products, I serve people. People stay alive, and as a result, we produce a surplus. I use that surplus to pay people inside of the company, and then a little bit's left over for me.
What metrics actually matter in the early stages of a business, and which ones are distractions?
It depends on the business. Every business has to develop their own, what they call KPIs, key performance indicators. Those are the metrics that we want to look at. So if we think about the direct-to-consumer e-commerce, which is what Refuge is. You go to the website, refugemedical.com, click. You end up at the shopping cart, and you put in promo code BearNation, you check out, boom, first aid kit headed your way. So in that what's called customer journey there, the first thing is sessions. And sessions is how many people came to your website in a day. Or not even how many people. It's how many times did anybody visit your website that day. So you might have 1,000 sessions in a day, and some of those sessions might have been one person checked your website 8 times today. Okay. So I want to look at sessions. I also want to look at when those sessions occurred. Was there a piece of content that came out? We did an Instagram post and sessions went up. That's great. What does that mean? Do another one. Okay. So it's how do I drive traffic? What works driving traffic to the website that produces those sessions? And then once they're at the website, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to buy, let alone that they're going to buy now. And this is one of the things that most people do not understand. 1,000 sessions does not equate to 1,000 sales. E-commerce industry standard is 2% conversion rate. So that means 20 people of every 1,000 are going to buy. Okay. 20 people of every 1,000. Okay. So then I also want to know my AOV, average order value. Say it's $100. Okay. So that's $2,000 in revenue. So if I want to produce $10,000 in revenue, if all things are equal, I need to increase sessions by 5x. Okay. So then what do we solve for here? I can solve for conversion rate. I can have a better offer stack. I can make it easier to transact on my website. I can increase sessions. And how most people try to increase sessions is through paid advertising to drive traffic to the website. Problem with that is it's diminishing cost of returns. Diminishing returns. The best that ad will ever perform is day one. And every marketing agency will tell you that it has to mature for at least 90 days. That's factually incorrect. They are telling you that because they want you to spend at least 90 days worth of money with them. So the best return on investment is day one on that ad. And sidebar on e-commerce. You get what's called attribution. So if you're using a platform like Shopify, which I personally have had issues with Shopify, but they're also the most new user-friendly platform for e-commerce, and for most people, you're going to be fine. I'm me. We are on the edge of the size of a store that should be on Shopify anyway. So Shopify has what's called attribution. And what they're trying to do is attribute where all these customers came from or where all these sessions came from. So if I run a customer journey, here's a business tip. Somebody has to see and hear about you statistically 7 to 11 times before they will consider purchasing your product or service. So this is where marketing comes into play. Marketing is simply the art of making known, communicating to people, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is where you can find us, okay? So we've got to do that 7 to 11 times. And during that customer journey, they first have to know you, then they have to decide that they like you, then they have to trust you, and then they may transact with you. Know, like, trust, then maybe a sale, okay? So in this customer journey, maybe they saw a Facebook ad, and then they also watched an Instagram reel from Refuge. And then they also viewed a piece of content on YouTube from Refuge. And then they couldn't quite remember the name. So then they Googled it. And then they saw a Luke video. And Luke was like, use promo code Luke at Refuge. And so then they used promo code Luke at Refuge. What happens is on the attribution side, Shopify says, hey, you got a customer. And Shopify did that because they were at the website. At the same time, that YouTube says, I got you a cut. So Shopify, then YouTube. YouTube says they watched the video, you got a customer. And then Facebook says they clicked an ad, or they looked at an ad for more than 3 seconds, you got a customer. Then Instagram says you watched a reel, so you got a customer. And then the affiliate program, Luke, promo code Luke, says, hey, we got you a customer. And so it looks like 5 customers, and it is not. It's all the same customer that's had all these different touch points. And the reason for this is Facebook wants you to spend more on ads, and YouTube wants you to spend more on ads, and the affiliate wants you to continue to take care of them as an affiliate, and Shopify wants you to stay with Shopify, and blah, 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 blah. So none of those attribution mechanisms on the back end are reliable witnesses. And so just get that out of your head right now. They're not. And so what you need to tie is content. We did a thing. We marketed. We drove sessions. Content to sessions. Okay? That alone is worth $1 million. Okay? I just saved you years of your life. Do not believe the attribution. Don't spend too much money with the marketing companies, because they will lie to you. We got you all these sessions. Sessions don't matter. It's conversion rate. Okay? Conversion rate matters. So just in e-commerce, we want to know what our KPIs are. Okay? And so for us, that's going to be sessions. That's going to be conversion rate. We are consistently about double conversion rate at Refuge Medical. It's part of why people want to buy us. And then average order value. How much are they buying? And lifetime value of that customer. Did they buy once? Did they buy 3 times? There's some people out there. I love these people. I don't understand it, but I love them. They have every kit we have ever made. Ever. They have one of everything. From the Bearfact Gen 1 to everything we ever made, they have one. That's amazing. How do you quantify the lifetime value of that person? Because they're an evangelist. They're telling everybody, yo, you got to go to Refuge. So each company has to know what their metrics are, but the long and short of business is you can't spend more money than you make. A book that I would recommend, author's name is Michael Michalowicz. Very difficult to spell the last name, but the book's called Profit First. And I'll save you a couple hours of your life reading this book. It's real simple. You want 3 bank accounts, and I do this across all entities. And the fact of the matter is, once you get large enough, you're going to want more than 3 bank accounts, but you're going to start with 3 bank accounts. The first is your profit account. The next is your tax account. And the last is your savings account, or your profit account. Or I'm sorry, operational expenses, taxes, profit. Okay. Operational expenses, taxes, profit. Those are our 3 buckets. So the reason for this is OpEx will eat every dime that you leave in that account. And that's because most people check their balance and they go, I got money in the bank, and then they spend it without realizing that a lot of expenses take time to mature, or I'm going to need to spend money next week or next month or whatever it is. So using round numbers, if I have a sale for $1,000, I'm going to take $1,000 that comes into my OpEx account, and then I'm going to move 30% of that into the tax account. Now, the tax account, I do not have checks for, and I do not have a debit card for. Meaning, in order for me to get money out of that bank account, I have to go to the bank, physically go to the bank and say, hi, Tina, it's Bear. I want to take money out of account 1234 XYZ. Okay. So you make it very difficult for money to come out. You make it easy for money to go in. Same thing with the profit account. You decide what your profit margin is going to be, but I recommend start at 10%. So I'm going to take 10%, put $100 over in the profit account. Same thing. I don't have checks for it, and I don't have a debit card for it. I have to go to the bank, or at a minimum, call the bank and say, transfer money out of this account to that account. It needs to be high friction, because otherwise you will take money out of those 2 accounts that has been sequestered intentionally. What that means is I have 60% of my revenue remains in my operational expenses account in OpEx, and I have to run the company on that 60%. I will always have a holdback for taxes because I'm taking 30% every time I get paid and I put it over here. I will always have profit sequestered from operational expenses over here in this profit account, and I run the business on 60%, which means I have to build the business in a way that I can operate the company with $600 for every $1,000 worth of revenue that I produce. Now, then people would say, well, that represents a 40% profit margin. Incorrect. You're not factoring for taxes, and most people don't factor for taxes. I have a 30% holdback for taxes right there because I'm not a W-2 employee anymore. Okay? I'm the owner. I'm the founder. So the primary benefit here is if you leave the money in the OPEX account, instead of that 10% that gets moved to the profit account, you'll always just spend it. By sequestering it in the profit account, I get to decide where it's going to go. And this goes back to taking bets and gambling and launching products or hiring a new person. Well, how are we going to afford this person? Because there's always some lag there. Each person that you hire should create more productivity, but it takes time. They don't come on day one and instantly improve productivity. If they do, you probably need to look at the fundamentals of your business. It takes 30 to 90 days in order for somebody to contribute to the productivity. So where do I have 3 months of salary? Oh, it's over here in the profit account. I'm going to choose to reinvest that profit into this person or into this opportunity or whatever. Now, when you pull money out of the business, you're creating a taxable event. You're getting an owner draw. And so now you're paying taxes on that because that's income. It comes out of the business. It comes to you as an individual. So it's a wonderful idea. Get yourself a CPA, certified public accountant, have a conversation. And it's a wonderful idea for the company to own assets rather than the individual to own assets. So, and if those assets are used in legitimate business, meaning like I have a pickup truck, cool. I make content in that pickup truck. I drive it to and from work. I drive across the country to go to these events where Pastor Bear's speaking. That's all legitimate business. So there's no reason why TJ Moore should own a pickup truck, because in order to own and pay for that pickup truck, I am using post-tax money to do so. I'm using 70% of my revenue instead of 100% of my revenue. Makes all the sense in the world for the company to have a pickup truck because the owner and founder of the company is engaged in legitimate business with this pickup truck. Therefore, the company owns the truck. The company pays the insurance. The company, And I'm using pre-tax money to make all those expenditures rather than post-tax personal money. So 3 accounts, one for operational expenses, OPEX, one for taxes, 30%, and one for profit, 10%. And then that way you get to redeploy that 10% however you see fit. And it doesn't just flow through your fingertips. You're capturing it as it comes in, operating the company on 60%. And then you're never caught with your pants down on taxes. I know render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, but man, Caesar wasn't asking for 30, 40, 70% of your revenue either. Which goes back to personal revenue versus business revenue. Owner payouts, owner draws are a taxable event. And so that's something to be aware of, which is why you should have a CPA to talk you through this because it varies from state to state.
I think we already talked about getting you to not be the bottleneck in your organization. And that's because you replace yourself with good people. I think I just have 2 more for you then.
No worries, bro.
You have a lot of responsibilities. What boundaries have you put in place to protect your marriage and children?
That's a great question. Many years ago, 12 years ago, when I was in North Texas working 70, 80, 90 hours a week to get out of debt and stay out of debt and to build the war chest to deploy against our moving from North Texas to Eastern Oklahoma. I was working nonstop from before the sun came up till after the sun went down. It's one of my giftings. I have been diagnosed as a classical workaholic by 3 different head doctors. Cool. I use it to my advantage, right? And so I come through the door and my wife is cooking dinner and she's like, dinner's going to be ready in a couple of minutes. Awesome. I peel my boots off, give her a kiss on the cheek. I said, hey, I'm going to eat and I'm going to go to bed because I got to be up super early tomorrow. And she gets eyeball to eyeball with me and she says, you need to stop bringing your leftovers home. I said, what does that mean? And she said, I love and respect how much you're doing for our family outside of the home so that we can do all these things that we need to do. But you can't come home on empty every day because me and the kids need you too. And she's like, babe, honestly, your 80% is better than everybody else's 100%. Give the world 80% so you still got 20 left over for us when you get home because we need you too. And that really, it affected me, changed my perspective. And so that's the first thing is you'll hear a lot of entrepreneurs, and most internet entrepreneurs are just full of it. If they don't have a company that you can interact with, then they're just blowing smoke up people's butts. But most will say, man, you got to give it 110%. You got to grind and you got to go. And it's excuses or lies and blah, blah, blah. Simmer. You do need to work really hard on the company. You do, because it's hard work. But it's not the most important work in your life. Your family is your most important work in your life. And your life is your resume. So if you build this big, beautiful company and you have no one to share the fruits of reward with, to what end? Why did I do this? Okay. And you'll see high divorce rates, high rates of estrangement inside of entrepreneurship because people get single-minded and hyperfixate on the business. So this is going to surprise you, but commo. It's literally up here. Commo. Communicate. Right there. Communicate. Okay. So I need my wife and I need my kids, me personally, to tell me when they need me. Now I know that they need me. I know that strategically, but tactically, I need them to tell me because I will make space in the calendar. I will move stuff. I will cancel stuff to be present for these things, but I have to know that they exist. Okay. And so that's a communication thing. And then I also need to communicate with them. There's going to be certain things that I will be unavailable during these times that unless it's an actual emergency, meaning somebody's actually bleeding or something's actually on fire, please don't interrupt me. Okay. And so all that's communication. And dadding and husbanding as hard as I business, if that makes sense. Be when you're in, be in. It goes back to don't start 7 companies. Don't try and copy Pastor Bear. Bad idea. Don't start there. Start with 1, right? It's the same thing. And if that's your singular focus, it should be the same way that when you're with family, you're with family. One of the things that we do in our household, it is a key touch point in the day for us, is family dinner. My wife cooks dinner. We all sit down. I've got 4 children, praise the Most High. My 2 older children are both in very committed relationships with wonderful people. And so it's common to have 8+ people around my dining room table. And it's beautiful. And when we're at the dining room table, we are at the dining room table. There's no phones. There's no TV in the back. There's none of that. We're just here. And so let's all look at each other and have a conversation and touch antennas with one another. How you been? What's going on? What's new with you? And this is a often daily occurrence. I'd say it's at least 5 days a week. That's how important it is to us. And it creates a break in the day where I will often have duties and responsibilities in the evening as well. But my people, again, my key direct reports, leadership in each one of the buckets in the enterprise, they know, hey man, after a certain period of time, certain time each day, unless somebody's bleeding or on fire, it can wait. We'll get to it tomorrow. Now, the inverse is also true. If we have an actual emergency, I want to know about it. Don't sit on it. Let me help you. That's my job, is to help the people underneath of me. Okay. But let's make sure it's actually an emergency. And that goes back to commo with those people. to set those parameters. You would ask that question earlier, what do those parameters look like, right? That's part of that. And we learn over time what is an emergency, what's a perceived emergency. Ray Dalio has a wonderful book on this, even though he's a total atheist jerk, called Principles. And the premise of Principles is that the human being only has about 200 unique life experiences. And the first time you go through one of these experiences, whether it's the birth of a child or a death of a loved one or loss of a job or whatever it is, you're startled because you don't have a set of principles on how to navigate these things. He absolutely doesn't, because he doesn't have the Word and the Word made flesh in the forefront of his mind. Okay, which is why he had to write a book bigger than the Bible in order to try and codify what the Bible says. But I digress. The idea with Principles is at some point you've had enough reps and sets with life where it's just another one of these. Okay, so the first time you see something, it's scary. The second time, oh, I've dealt with this once before, but I'm still kind of anxious about it. The third time, the fifth time, the 100th time, it's just another one of these. And so as you grow people and your relationships with people grow, the first time something happens, I do need to intercede. We do need to have a conversation. I do need to help you through this. And in the process, I'm going to show you how I deal with this thing. Not fix it for you. I'm going to show you how I would do it. And so the second time, we're going to handhold on that. The third time, I'm going to watch you. The fourth time, you got it. The fifth time, I'm just going to look over your shoulder and check, make sure you still got it. And then you don't need to interrupt me with that anymore. And so that helps preserve family time. But time blocking is another big thing for me. It requires intentionality, which goes back to letting your yes be yes and being disciplined and all of that. There are certain periods of time, and they're not set, but like I know next Friday, my wife has a thing that she just absolutely wants to do next Friday. So I know what my next Friday afternoon is looking like. I will be Mr. Dad next Friday afternoon, and I'm good with it, so that she can go do the thing that she wants to do. And so that's part of me loving my wife as myself. I'm creating space for her to do the things that she wants to do, not just us time together, but also the things that enrich and fulfill her as an individual. Okay, cool. I'm on dad stuff. No harm, no foul. But it requires commo for me to know so I can time block to make the space. So we say all the time in our organizations, all problems are commo problems. It's all commo. We just have to talk to one another. And if you remove, and this is critical, if you remove the value judgment from the conversation, I'm bad, you're bad, it's bad, I'm good, you're good, it's good, and you just look at the data, and we just communicate the data, and we take how I feel about it, or how I think you might feel about it, and we take that and we set it over here and just have a conversation, it just is. Now it's just information. And how I feel about it, which frankly is unreliable and a poor witness and generally irrelevant. My feelings are not reliable. Okay. And because feelings typically are coming from ego and hurt and trauma and perceived injustice, and all of which is irrelevant to the conversation. Just have a conversation. And so try and communicate as much as you can, as effectively as you can. And then that buys time back to be a dad, to be a husband. And I really try. I'm not great at it, but I really try. When I'm in dad mode, I'm in dad mode. When I'm in husband mode, I'm in husband mode. Just like when I'm in boss mode, I'm in boss mode. So.
What do you want your legacy to be for your children, your employees, and the kingdom?
It's a great question. For our employees, which I like to refer to as teammates because they are, a lot of, corporate speak is garbage, but they are our teammates. I cannot do all the things that we get to do daily without, 100 other people in my life that are all rowing in the same direction. Our goal is to leave this place better than we found it, to have a positive impact for the kingdom. I had a mentor when I was in the Big C Christian Church, one of the elders, who used to say, I'm going to heaven and I'm dragging as many dirty sinners with me as I can. And I love that. I love that. The idea of dragging, like we are going, let's go, pulling people with you, right? And if we can just raise the overall level of the kingdom, even one notch, right? Serve as many people as possible and have a positive effect for the Word and the Word made flesh, the Father and Messiah, to love our neighbor as ourselves and love the Most High with everything that we've got. And the people inside of these organizations who are also our neighbors, right? Like I do an internal Thursday classroom at Refuge every Thursday morning. That's half business instruction, half sermon. And our people love it. And I just pick a topic and I whiteboard for an hour and we talk, we have conversations, and they love it. And for a lot of them, that's their church, right? They'd rather hear what I have to say inside of the company than go find somebody on a Saturday or a Sunday that they're less critically aligned with. And as we've grown, we have everybody inside of organizations. They are my brother and my sister. They're all believers. Not all of them are what we would call Torah observant or Torah pursuant. It's like, well, how do you skin that cat? Do they love God? Yeah. Do they believe in Messiah? Yeah. Are they trying to walk as best they know how? Yeah. Are they loving their neighbor as themselves? Yeah. Am I creating a positive witness for them? Yeah, to the best of my ability. Okay. So they're on the path. Where they get to on the path, that's between them and the Most High. It doesn't mean we at the operational level compromise our morals and our ethics and our beliefs, because we don't. I mean, we were open on Christmas. I think we were the only business in our county that was open on Christmas, right? Because SoShop was open, website was up, right? Because we don't do Christmas. We also didn't make anybody come to work that day. And I don't make people go to Sukkot. I can't legally make anybody do any of that. But for our employees, I want every single person, whether they're inside the company now or have been inside of the company and now they're not, or will be inside of the company one day, for them to leave better than they came. And for us collectively to leave this place, this earth, this physical plane, better than when we came to it. I want people to know, man, Refuge was here, or Grindstone was here. I mean, it's obvious on a Grindstone deployment, the before and after. It's like it was chaos, and now it's order, because Grindstone was here, because our God is a God of order, right? And servitude, and hands and feet, and loving people. Conversely, with Kaleb House, it's like nobody should ever know that we're here. You just wake up one morning and people are missing. Yep, you're welcome. As far as, for my children, legacy for them, businesses are assets that produce profit. And I am not a financial advisor. I don't play one on YouTube or the internet at all. You should talk to one, but think about a family trust. That's really important to me, that a trust holds these assets that are revenue producing assets, which are businesses, that creates financial maneuverability for my children. One of the things that I am engaged in on the macro level is a breaking of generational curses. Both my wife and I grew up without a whole lot, and it doesn't mean that our parents were necessarily bad people, but there were opportunities that we could have capitalized on had we the assets, and we didn't. It is also in no way my effort to spoil my children. He who does not work has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Okay. My oldest daughter is getting married, praise the Most High, to a wonderful young man. The brother in the faith, hardworking, just a wonderful young man. I love him as a son already. He's awesome. Well, weddings cost money. And so we're throwing a wedding, and we have money set aside in a savings account that can pay for the wedding, that she wants to have a wedding. And all of my kids have known this. I have money set aside for you that you may use. It's yours, but you can't just have it. You have to come to me and explain why it is that you want it and what impact this money is going to have. Okay. And so my oldest daughter came to me and she's like, I want to get married. Well, actually, that's not what happened. The young man came to me and asked, can I please marry your daughter? I was like, yes. Okay. And I said, but we need to have a meeting. So then we had a budget meeting. I was like, explain to me what this wedding looks like. And she's like, I would like to use some of this money that's set aside for a wedding. I was like, cool. How does this serve the kingdom? She's like, well, then we will be married and the two will become one flesh and you'll get some grandbabies out of this and da da da. I was like, okay, check. Cool. But these are war chests for my children that when they see an opportunity that they can capitalize, that they have that opportunity if they choose to, with my blessing, with my oversight, to capitalize on these opportunities so that they can happen to the world righteously too. And so it's much more about the pattern of behavior that we are teaching our children, that we do serve the Most High, that we do love our neighbor as ourselves, that we do not forsake the widow and the orphan, that we do walk righteously to the best of our ability, that we are under the headship of Messiah. And under all these parameters, we happen to the world. Two of us put 10,000 to flight, not the other way around. We don't fear anything except Yahweh Elohim, creator of the heavens and the earth. Okay? So it's okay to walk with your chin up and your shoulders back a little bit. Be humble. That's the first rule up here. Be humble. Okay? Because if you can't be humble, he will humble you. But we operate not because we're so cool. Well, we operate with his authority. And we have to be good stewards of his authority. And money is just a tool that we use to execute upon his authority, to make stuff manifest here in this physical plane for the preservation of life and service to the kingdom. And it's again, you will know them by their works. So my kids get to see this, right? Like my son does construction. He has helped with construction on various construction projects for various different buckets of the enterprise. My oldest daughter was my first assistant trainer, teaching people at Refuge Medical. That girl's taught more stop the bleed and tactical medical classes than most people will take in a lifetime. She knows it, right? My 9-year-old comes to work with us and hangs out in the sew shop. And she's over in the sew shop bothering one of our sew team leads, Terry, and over there sewing and cutting Velcro and cutting webbing and the whole nine. And it's just a part of who we are. Because at some point, and I've told them this, I would like to retire one day. And retirement for me probably looks like doing 2 things instead of 10 things, which is an expectation I've already set with my wife because I'm really bad at sitting still. You and me sitting here talking is about the longest I've sat still this week, right? And when I get done having this conversation with you, I'm going to be back outside. I got other things that I got to do. So, but they see it, they experience it, and they understand. And brother, this life is so short. The physical impact that we can have in this life is so short. And ultimately what we want to have is an eternal spiritual impact. That's the goal. And so we should use this very short physical existence that we have, given the provision, protection, and blessing of the Most High, to have an eternal impact. That's the best cost-benefit analysis, to use business terms, that could possibly ever exist. And we made the best deal in the history of mankind. You ever wonder why do bad things happen to good people? Have you ever thought that? Okay. Because good things happen to bad people. The Father, unequal weights and measures are an abomination to the Most High. We know that. We can read that in the book of Proverbs and all throughout the Torah. So we made the best deal in the history of mankind. The best possible thing, the good thing, has happened to bad people, sinners, us. Okay, so we already got the best possible thing. And so, because good things happen to bad people, bad things, unequal weights and measures, are an abomination. Bad things, therefore, must happen to good people. However, the bad things that happen to good people only happen on the physical plane. And we have made the best deal possible of good things happening to bad people that carries on into eternity on the spiritual plane forever. We already won. We already won. So now we have this physical life that we get to lead. Don't have to lead. We get to lead this life, covered by the blood of the Lamb, with the blessing of the Most High, to operate in righteousness, to happen to the world for a short period of time. Man, no more than 120 years will Yahweh tarry with man. And man, at 120, I think I'm going to be used up. I'll be impressed if I get to 80 at this point, okay? So we have a very limited window of time to have as much impact on the world as possible. And even if we go back to the first question that you asked, everything, everywhere, all at once, we have a limited window of time to have as much physical impact as possible. Well, man, we better do it. We better operate in that authority with our giftings and our talents and delights to the best of our ability. And that's, I guess, my legacy in a nutshell, is that not just that you can, but it's expected of you as a son or daughter of the Most High. He didn't accidentally make you this person for this time in this place. That was completely intentional. And if that was completely intentional, if there was intent behind who you are and where you are and what you are, how do you use that to serve the creator of the universe and to worship him in spirit and in truth in this very short window of time that we are given as compared to eternity? And we already made the best deal that there is. So when things get a little hard on occasion here physically, wah, suck it up, buttercup. We win. We've already won. We are overcomers. Get to work. Do it.
Okay. I mean, I thought that was the last question. And then so maybe just this will wrap us back to the first question, which is, how do you balance? And then that's it. How do you balance knowing all the everything, everywhere, all at once stuff with the fact that, you know, your daughter's getting married? How do you help her to feel like it's worth starting a life and starting a family, etc.? Those two things, like excitement for the future and knowing that there's some trepidation, I suppose.
Pastor Joe Fox, Viking Preparedness, one of my favorite people on planet Earth, a brother and a friend and a mentor. He says all the time on his Patreon channel, you got to have two plans. One plan, one course of action is, and he's former special forces. The planning courses of action is just built into who he is, right? Which is why it resonates with me. Me too. No plan survives contact with the enemy. Nothing ever goes perfect. And so back to business, moderate yourself. Okay. The reason we plan is to mitigate risk, not necessarily because we're going to execute on this plan exactly as written, because there's always variables outside of our control. So our goal is to control the controllables. Okay. So you need two plans. One is the world is ending. The world as we know it is ending, and you do need people and food and water and security and blah, blah, blah. What's the Prepper Classroom playlist on the Bear Independent channel? You need all that stuff. You need to do that stuff. I would submit aggressively, because my current assessment is we have a 30% likelihood in the next 12 months that this comes to pass. And so I am executing on that plan aggressively. There's about 1 in 3 chance that's going to come to pass. Okay. That's what my brain thinks. Now, I also have a conviction from the Spirit, right? Hey, do the things. Get busy. Roger that. Yes, sir. There's a 2/3 chance that doesn't happen. And so both perspective and in action, I need to spend 2/3 of my time thinking about the good stuff. Okay. And long range planning. What does life for my great grandchildren look like? How do I make sure that they inherit this land that I'm on? You know, as a brief aside, that's something that's been lost in American society. We used to have, you know, when my daughter gets married and has babies, there will be 5 generations on this one piece of land. That's amazing. What a blessing. It's just an absolute blessing. We've lost that as a society. The reason my 18-month-old is so developed is because she spends a significant amount of time with grandma, who's 88 years old. And she doesn't hang around other babies. She hangs around young adults and grandma, right? So she's very advanced developmentally because she's not goo-goo gaga with all these other people. She's constructing full sentences right now because that's how people talk. So you need a 2/3, I would submit right now, 2/3 of our effort should be at long-range planning, whether that's personal or professional, whatever that looks like. 1/3 is short-term planning for, oh man, it all went to hell. Now what do we do? Well, okay. We're probably going to eat this sheep, boil some rice, and I'll put a round in the chamber on my rifle. And it's important. I'd submit also just from a business standpoint. Business is very offensive. It's not defensive, it's offensive. You need a good defense, but it's offensive. It is not farming, it's hunting. Okay? And that just, even going back to people, right? Some people are farmers, some people are hunters. Salespeople need to be hunters. Administrative people need to be farmers because they're going to tend what they've got. The hunters have to go out and kill stuff. Okay? And so much so that, like, with salespeople, I like to know, like, you ever done any hunting? Oh, yeah, I love hunting. You're probably going to be great at this. Cool. So when we look at this 2/3, 1/3 plan, and in business, spend at least as much time thinking about what could be that's good as compared to what could be that's bad. We as people tend to hyperfixate on what could be that's bad. Okay, think of the early Israelites. They're wandering around the wilderness. Did you bring us out here to die? The cucumbers of Mitzrayim. Cucumbers? This is what we're pissed off about? Come on, right? And so we hyperfixate on the bad. So much of the motion is like, for 40 years we wandered, and that only due to your disobedience. And did your sandals wear out? No, right? And so spend at least as much time thinking about what could be that's good. Again, my people suffer for a lack of vision. And there's a whole teaching in that, right? You can't go, the body cannot go a place that the mind has not been. And so I need to have time to consider all of the things, good and bad, and for me to see it in my mind. I've got to see it in my mind first, and then I can make it manifested here down on this physical plane. I can cut apart the pizza box and get some duct tape and make a thing, right? But I got to see it first. And I don't see it until I take time to consider what could be that's good, not just what could be that's bad. Yeah, there's myriad threat indicators out there, brother, myriad. And that's why we're at about a 30% assessment right now that this thing could go sideways in 12 months. But 2/3 chance it doesn't. What opportunities do I see? Can I see myself holding my grandbaby in a couple of years? Yeah, I can. Maybe sooner. That's going to be amazing. That's awesome. What does that look like? What's the next family vacation we're going to go on? What do I want to bring for Shabbat? Have I pre-studied the Torah portion so that I can be a contributor to the Midrash? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, oh my gosh, Iran has officially declared war against the United States of America. As of time of recording, that happened yesterday. Okay, and what? What are you going to do about that? You're going to hop on your jet, fly over to Iran and say, listen, Ayatollah, simmer down. I think that's a bad idea. Low likelihood, okay? So what can I do? And what can be that's good? We miss, I know I'm running off in the mouth here, but Genesis chapter 1. Yah made it, and it is good. He looked upon all this, and it is good. The earth is good. The trees are good. The plants are good. The water is good. The animals are good. What messed it all up? We did. We messed it up, man. It's our bad. Okay, cool. Restore it. Okay. Yah made flesh, came down here. He fixed us so that we could be engaged in meaningful work as his hands and feet for the restoration. And the Yehudim have a whole teaching on this, Tikkun HaOlam, the restoration of the world. And I'm not falling into that at the moment, but it's a concept. What are you going to do with your life? Well, serve Yah, keep his commands, for this applies to all mankind. Ecclesiastes 12, verses 13 and 14. Okay. Am I serving Yah by being overly concerned with the bad stuff that could happen? No. Now balance that against Proverbs. The prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself. So I don't want bad stuff to happen to me. Why? Preservation of life. Joseph going down to Egypt, man. And his brothers show up and they're like, man, he's going to be pissed off. And he's like, no, it was from Elohim. Because if I hadn't been brought down here, you didn't sell me into slavery. This was all the hand of the Most High. Because I wouldn't be able to be second to Pharaoh in charge of all of Egypt so that I could install my family over here into Goshen to get away from the famine, the warfare, the plague, to preserve a remnant. Yeah, it sucked for Joseph. Did he hyperfixate on how bad it was? No. He operated on his purview from the Most High. And as a result, the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were perpetuated. They were stewarded for a time in the land of Goshen because he was looking at what could be good, not could be bad, right? And as a result, he didn't just spend his time interpreting dreams in a prison. He became second in command to Pharaoh, right? Same set of circumstances, but different mindset, different worldview. And so I would encourage everybody to just, however much time you're spending thinking about the bad stuff, literally track that and then discipline, force yourself to think about the good stuff, what could be. And then you enact 2 courses of action. I've got 2 courses of action. One is, man, it all falls apart and there's no internet anymore. And now I'm eating rice out of buckets. Okay, cool. And then what? We shall endure. The Father's people endure. Or it doesn't all fall apart and I get to go to a wedding and hold grandbabies and continue to expand his company and go on more mission trips with Grindstone and rescue more kids with Kaleb House and do more live streams with Luke and all that other good stuff. And until it tips 2/3 likely that it's going to be bad, 1/3 likely that it's good, don't let it overwhelm you. It goes back to fear. We are to fear nothing but Yahweh or Elohim. That's it. That's it. And anything else, we are deeply respecting our own insecurities, our own traumas, our own lack. It's all lack. I don't have enough. I'm not enough. No, brother. No, sister. You are precious in the eyes of the Most High. He bought and paid for you with a price that was his own blood. Yeah, you are enough in him. And the spirit that lives in you raises the dead and splits the seas. So I think we're going to be okay. Just do the best you can with what you got where you're at, to quote Pastor Joe.
Mr. Morris, Sir Bear, thank you for the crash course in CEO-ship and for kind of placing us where we are in the world right now. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you for continuing to do all the things that you do. And thank Katie for me as well, because I know that behind every good man, there's a good woman. And so I'm thankful for her as well. And man, I hope you heal up. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Ruckus.
Yes, sir. I will see you there. If you stuck around this long and you just need more, go to watchthelife.com and you can get the unedited, ad-free episode 100. It's going to come out January 20th. So if you're seeing this after January 20, 2026, then it's already out.